Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Opposite the Monitor, and today we're going to get into some news about Spider-Man 2. As you all know, Spider-Man 2 has released, and man, I've been grinding it out since release. I've put in already about 16 hours, 17 hours into the game. I'm about to put a little bit more into it as well. I think officially released on the 20th, but yeah, man, we're going to talk about it. We got a short one today, so we're going to talk about it though. Spider-Man 2 dev addresses game cost versus length debate. I've had this conversation multiple times before in my other videos as well. You can go check that out, man. Check out the podcast version of this as well. But yeah, man, we're going to get into it. Say we want to give them the experience that's worth it. And I've always agreed to that. I believe quality over quantity any day. I'll take quality over quantity any day. But they go on to say that in this particular article, they go on to say that fans looking forward to Insomniac's games latest erupted in a conversation when someone playing ahead of its October 20th release date leaked the achieving platinum trophy. Took around 25 to 30 hours. Some fans noted this was similar to the original game and therefore fine, while others grew upset after deeming Spider-Man 2 short given its full price cost. Man, look, let me tell you, let me just say this, okay? Like, you have to just be relentlessly just forcing yourself to grind, like to go through the game at that speed. Granted, this particular person had access to the game before it released, but you have to just like, just be pushing through it. In order to I believe if you're going through it that fast, you're not really taking in anything. You're not enjoying the game as it was intended to be enjoyed, or as it was like, and that's what I be seeing too. A lot of this today, and I was actually scrolling through TikTok and actually saw this one other YouTuber talking about this same topic and stuff, and just going through the comments and stuff, and I see a lot of people saying like they're blaming it on streaming. Streaming killed people to be able to just like consume games at their own speed, but now you have people that just want to just grind out games to try to be rush through games to try to be the first one to try to release some type of TikTok about it, or try to release a video about it, to be the first one to write a blog about it or anything like that. And it's like some games like 20 to 25 hours or 25 to 30 hours is a pretty good length for a game. It's not too short and it's not too long. That's the happy medium. That's the happy spot and stuff like that. Like, for you to be able to just like rush through this and stuff like that, and of course you're gonna think that, what I'm saying, the game is too short. That's how I feel when I watch Cobra Kai on Netflix. It's like I'll sit here, Cobra Kai gives me 10 episodes and they're all like 30 minutes a piece, and I grind out the entire show, the entire season in a day and stuff like that, and I'm still asking for more and stuff like that. But it's like if I actually just slowed down, took in maybe an episode or two a day, be able to enjoy what I'm watching. Granted, it's not to say that I'm not enjoying it, but it's more so to say like if I just take in the experience of what I'm watching or what I'm playing, then you can actually be able to absorb what you're trying to enjoy easier, in my opinion, and just my experience and stuff. And so it's just like a lot of people just, this particular sentiment I've like tried to understand, but it's like sometimes, man, it's like you don't need to rush through it just to be the first one to you don't need to rush through it just to be the first one to release content about it and then turn around and tell developers that the game is too short. No, you're just rushing through the game. That's it. You're just rushing through the game. Like I've spent 17 hours in this game already, and I've just hit the halfway point of the game and stuff, but I still have so much more left to do. I still have so many side quests left to do. I still have so many collectibles to find. There's so many other things in the game that I haven't done yet or come across yet. And it's just because I'm taking my time. I'm enjoying the story. I'm enjoying the side quests. I'm enjoying the characters that I come in contact with. I'm enjoying just reading the lore, like reading different pages of articles and stuff like that. Granted, everybody has their own pace in which they like to accomplish or to beat the game that they have purchased. That's within your right. But my thing is like, if you're the type of person to where you're grinding, you're rushing through games just to set out like content for the first time or whatever like that for the internet, I don't think you need to be out here telling developers that the game is too short. That isn't a short amount of time. 25 to 30 hours is not a short is not a short amount of time for a game's story. Or like for you to be able to essentially 100% complete this, you're doing 15 to 16 hour live streams of just you just constantly playing this. You grinding, rushing out the story, and then you going and you grinding out, you rushing out the side quests and stuff like that. You're just rushing through everything. Sometimes I swing around the city just to take in the sights, just to take in how beautiful the game looks, you know? And that's what I'm just saying is like, it's the experience, because that's what video games are. They're an experience for you to be able to enjoy. So in my opinion, I don't think 25 to 30 hours is too short for a game. That's always been the happy medium for a game's story mode or even just a game in general. Like, I mean, like God of War was 25 hours. God of War Ragnarok was 25 hours as well. So it's just like, and those stories felt long, and it gave you meaningful content, and it gave you the old characters that you love, and then it brought in new characters that you grew to attach to and stuff. And so, yeah, man, in my opinion, just, you know, if you're rushing through games, man, don't say that the game is too short because you're rushing through the game. Don't say that. You know what I'm saying? Just rush through the game if you want to rush through the game, and then, in my opinion, don't say nothing. You know, because if you're going to rush through something, that doesn't mean that the game is short. That just means you rush through it, you know. But they go on to say that for us, it really comes down to the experience we want to deliver with the quality we want to hit. I agree. Obviously, there's a certain level of, hey, someone's going to spend this much money on a game, so we want to give them the experience that's worth it. Yeah, quality over quantity. I would take a 25 to 30 hour, you know, quality game over something that's 200 hours and, you know, 100 or 150 of it is just, you know, nothingness, nothing at all, you know. That's kind of the same way how I feel about the world design. Same thing I said with Starfield. Like, I've been playing Starfield. I've been enjoying Starfield. I haven't been enjoying Starfield as much as I've been enjoying Spider-Man, but you don't need 1,000 planets in that game. And I said this before, and I'll continue to say it again. You don't need 1,000 planets in that game because that game's not as expensive as they said it was going to be. And it's all procedurally generated, which just makes it feel the same wherever you go. And so I've been enjoying the story elements of it, but everything else has just been so samey. It's just, I've just been, you know, monotonously going through the motions of just trying to complete specific, like it feels like a laundry list. And so that's why I'm just like, you know, quality over quantity, man. Like, I don't need 1,000 planets. They could have literally just done 2 or 3 galaxies that you jump to with about 20 planets total between those 3 galaxies, and then make each one of those planets unique in nature and different from each other with different resources, different fauna, different animals and species and stuff like that. Like, if you'd have done that, that game would have felt very much so expansive and could have delivered well over 100, 200 hours, even more than that. It could have delivered well over that, especially if they're putting in small details like secret caves or secret, you know what I'm saying, story elements that you have to find, or some stuff you just may come across. They could have went the whole dynamic the whole dynamic scenario route the same way that Red Dead Redemption did, where you just come across random events that just happen from out of nowhere, and like AI and NPCs are interacting with you and stuff like that, and it causes you to be able to go on this completely different side, like side quests that you had no intention of going on. You just happened to stumble across it. They could have went that route. No, bigger doesn't always mean better, and I always say that when it comes to video games. But yeah, man, it's just, that's kind of just like my 2 cents with it, man. I completely agree with their sentiment with this. I feel like it's a $70 game. I mean, I feel like it's worth, $70 game. Doesn't need to be 200 hours. Doesn't need to be 100 hours. Doesn't need to be 80 hours. 25 to 30 hours is great. There's a lot of stuff to do in this game. There's a lot of great characters. There's a lot of good story elements. The combat always feels refreshing. The combat is always great. So it's just like, I'm always having fun, like, in what I'm doing. And they always have stuff for you to do in the game anyways. There's always some kind of crime that you have to like solve and stuff like that, or stop, There's always some type of investigation that you have to do. There's always some collectible, they got the time trials and stuff still there. They got the Mysterium that's in there. That's like, that's continuous. So you don't never have to worry about like completing the Mysterium unless you're just getting gold on it all the time. You know what I'm saying? But that's just me. That's just where I'm coming from with it, man. But yeah, but we got some more information though, with Spider-Man though. So Spider-Man 2 devs not against the Venom spinoff if fans want it. I also agree with this. Listen to your fans, man. I said this before. This is going to be about the people. Who are you making the game for? Figure that out first. So senior narrative directors John Paquette said the team isn't ready to think about the next game just yet, but we'll wait and see how fans react to the sequel first. So he goes on to say in his quote, we're going to listen to the fans and we're going to ask ourselves, okay, what do the fans really want? We'll kind of talk about stuff after we've all had time to sleep and take our vacations. Great. They don't need to think about a spinoff or a sequel right now. They just made Game of the Year contender. They deserve a vacation. We don't need a spinoff right now. Let's just enjoy. See, it goes back to that whole like 25, 30 hours is too short. Now you already want to spin off already. The game just released. This game took 4 years to make, and now you want them to just we're just gonna make a spinoff. I was like, bro, this is not TV. This isn't movies, bro. This ain't TV. Like this shit takes years to make, and yeah, man, like, I'm always supportive of listening to fans, consumer. I'm pro-consumer, always and will forever be. At the same time, though, developers do need a break. They just spent 4 years making this game. This game is top tier, A-list, and yeah, man, like they deserve it. They deserve it. And on top of that, like, you're going to get either a spinoff or a sequel, and my thing is too, is like, I mean, yes, you could do a spinoff of Venom. I haven't finished the game yet, so I don't really, I've just wrapped up, or I'm just starting to get to the climax of the Venom arc, really. I haven't finished the entire game yet, but, I guess it would be dope. In my opinion, I guess it would be dope to have if you had a Venom spinoff, that way you could introduce Carnage. You could introduce some of the other symbiotes, into the world as well. And I mean, that could be dope too. You could kind of get your own little Venom kind of spinoff thing going on there. I would definitely like to see maybe like I don't know how it ends, so I don't really know who ends up keeping Venom, who ends up keeping the symbiote, just yet. But probably by the time I'm going to grind out a little bit more, so probably by the time this video comes out, I probably would have already beaten Spider-Man. But at this moment in time, I have not. I think that having a Venom would be pretty dope. I actually wouldn't mind having like a Harry Osborn spinoff. depending on how this goes. If Harry ends up being alive at the end of the game, which I would assume, because like it would be nice to see Green Goblin. You know, and I don't know if they're going to make Harry Osborn be the original Green Goblin this time instead of Norman. You know, I don't know how that's going to be, but I would definitely like to see, you know, Green Goblin or Green Goblin Jr. type of thing happen in this game, versus the last one. But, you know, I think for the most part though, because I don't think they had Green Goblin in the original, in the first Spider-Man. I think they were holding back on that one. But I could be wrong. My memory is faulty now. But you know, I wouldn't mind seeing like a Harry Osborn spinoff if he's still alive. But I mean, a Venom spinoff could be pretty dope. That way you can introduce all the other symbiotes. You know, you can introduce all the other symbiotes. You can introduce other things. I do know Insomniac is making a Wolverine game. I would hope that the Wolverine game comes out before Spider-Man 3. So then that way, I would love to see those two worlds collide. Because if, you know, you got you a Wolverine game coming, you could potentially get you a Deadpool game, and then you could potentially have Spider-Man and Deadpool in the same game, just like the comics. So that'd be pretty dope. But yeah, man, I wholeheartedly agree with this, man. Let them focus on Spider-Man 2. Spider-Man 2 just released. Don't think about, you know, a spinoff just yet. You know, if you know, keep the fan sentiment in mind going forward, though. You know, if the majority of the people, you know, want to have like a Venom spinoff, you know, go for it. You know, I'm always down to jump back into the Spider-Man universe, man, for real. But and another thing too, they also kind of mentioned that they bringing in the community council. That was another thing that was kind of interesting too, where they or actually no, maybe that was actually somewhere else. Anyways, I'm jumping ahead of myself. But yeah, all in all, man, I'm excited for this, man. This is all good information. This is all great. You know, yeah, I'm definitely excited for this though. But moving on though, we have some more information. EA's Iron Man game being developed on the Unreal Engine 5. It is now the focus. EA, now this is being developed by EA Motive, which is great because EA Motive just did Dead Space Remake. And that game was great. That game was, you know, I mean, granted it was a remake. Like they didn't really like change too much from the story, but just overall it being renewed like that was very much so refreshing. But going on, they say we're still early in pre-production and taking our time to make sure we set the best possible foundation for development. That's great. Take your time. You can't make a great game on a faulty foundation. Like that's just, you know, the basis of it. You can't make a great game on a faulty foundation. That's one of the things I said with Spider-Man when people were out, when like, you know, other content creators were out here saying that, you know, the Insomniac needs to try something new and refreshing and innovative, and for what? The foundation is there. They've done the heavy lifting. They did the heavy lifting in the original game, and so that allows them to be able to build upon that awesome foundation that was made. You don't need to make a foundation on something that's great. For what? You know what I mean? You don't need innovation on top of something that's great. You know what I'm saying? Like they have a set foundation and it works and people love it and the game is successful. Only thing you need to do is continue on with that foundation, maybe add a few changes here or there to kind of like change it up based upon how the story is going and the type of tone that you're going for in the sequels, but they don't need to do anymore. And this is kind of like, that's the same thing that I'm agreeing with EA Motive. Make sure your foundation is strong. You got a strong foundation, you can build a franchise. So going on though, but already we're finding so many opportunities to explore story, design, and gameplay with Iron Man, and it's exciting to see the fantasy start coming alive. I'm excited for this, man. Like EA Motive did a great job with Dead Space Remake, man. You know, I hope they continue on the same path. I think Dead Space Remake was also made on Unreal Engine 5, if I'm not mistaken. I could be mistaken though, but I could have thought it was. But also, so this is where I was talking about the community council before. EA Motive is bringing back the community council for the new Iron Man game, which, if you don't know about community council, they're essentially a group of people who are fans of that particular game. Or of that particular franchise or that particular medium. So with Dead Space, they had their community council, and it was all full of people that were fans of the original Dead Space games, and they brought them in to offer feedback on the development process. They're doing the same thing with Iron Man, and they're going to bring in people who are fans of Iron Man to help with feedback on the development process, and that's great. You know, that ensures that you have people that are passionate about what you're doing to help make sure that the game in and of itself comes out to be the best that you can possibly make it. I wish they had a community council for TV shows and movies. If they had that, we wouldn't have situations like the Witcher TV show on Netflix, but I digress. But this is great though. Great news, man. I'm excited for it. Can't wait for Iron Man. You know, as well as Black Panther. EA's making Black Panther too. So I mean, like, yeah, I'm excited for some of the Marvel stuff that's coming out. Hopefully it's better than Square Enix's Avengers, because that shit was garbage. We don't need any more of that. But moving on though. So for the last two pieces, man, this is kind of like some opinionated stuff. Not gonna really get into the article in and of itself because it's an opinion based article, but it does kind of flesh out some questions that, you know, man, I would like to hear from you guys in the comments. You know, or, you know, just let me know in the comments or whatever like that. But gaming industry becoming too reliant on remakes and remasters. I personally myself don't see this as a bad thing. Given the fact that the remakes that have been coming out are really good. But here's my thing, right? And they show a picture of Resident Evil. I would say Capcom is an exception, and the main reason why, and it's not because I'm biased, because I am biased because I do love Resident Evil. Resident Evil is one of my all-time favorite franchise. I hold that above any other franchise that has ever been created. Resident Evil is my favorite franchise, but the reason in which I give the exception to Capcom is because they not only make remakes, but they still make the mainline games. They're still making new games. They're still making sequels to the Resident Evil franchise. So it's not like they just started doing remakes and then stopped making like actual sequels to the games. They're still making sequels to the games. They're just making remix alongside it, so then that way you can kind of like relive because the newer games had a newer protagonist and stuff like that. And for me, the remakes are more so catered to like actual OG fans and stuff like that. So then that way you can kind of still play as your favorite characters through the stories that you love, while also playing, you know, a new story from a new protagonist, you know, as well as different gameplay. Like the new games all first person versus the remakes are all third person, you know. And even the remakes offer different things. So this is why I like the remakes, because you can get like those iconic stories being retold again, but you get them in a new way. So like even with Resident Evil, like granted the graphics are, you know, extremely, you know, extremely improved, but they have different gameplay mechanics now versus like they're not just you know, it's an actual, you know what I'm saying, change versus like, you know, just remaking the game like in a classic way to try to appease or try to appeal to OG, like try to appeal to fans in that regard. But it's more so like they're innovating as well as appealing to fans, which is great. And then they're still appealing to fans with the new stuff. So it's more, you know what I'm saying? Like remakes and remasters can be good, you know, or not remasters, remakes. Remakes can be good. Remasters, we could do well without remasters. I would actually, I feel like remasters are more of like a cheap way to kind of like, or cheap way for development studios or production companies to make money off of something that's popular that they've had. in my opinion. I could do without remasters. I don't need a remaster of anything, to be completely honest with you. I think remakes should replace remasters, in my opinion. And I'd like to, like, know if you guys, let me know in the comments, like, if you guys think of that. Like, if you think that, do you agree that remakes should replace remasters? Like, getting a game built from the ground up, you still keep that same story you like, everything like that, the characters that you like and stuff. Maybe the characters have different face models now. Maybe the design is a little bit different, and stuff like that. But it's an entire remake built from the ground up with a new engine, new, gameplay mechanics, everything like that. Put into the game. Do you guys, in my opinion, I think that's great, and I think that should replace remasters. But do you guys think? Let me know in the comments, man. Do you think? Do you feel like the gaming industry is becoming too reliant upon remakes and remasters? And do you think remakes and remasters, or do you think remasters should exist and remakes should replace them? Let me know in the comments, man. I think that remakes are the new, like, remasters. Like, get rid of remasters and just remake all of the old games from ground up and stuff like that on new engines. But yeah, that's just my, like, opinion on this, man. I think that, remakes are a good thing. Remasters we can live without. But moving on, though, this is my last opinion piece that we have here. But graphics aren't the most important part of games, says fans. I mean, yeah, this may be, a little divisive, I would assume. I know there's a lot of people out here that put a lot of stake in the graphics. There's a lot of people out here that put a lot of stake in the gameplay. Me personally, I put a lot of stake in the gameplay. I'd rather have a game that isn't as graphically impressive versus a game that is. But they go on to say that most players believe recent releases have focused too much on the game's environments and how pretty it looks, creating games that look great, but aren't very engaging. Yeah, I completely agree. There's been a couple of games that have released that look good, but they're not engaging. They're not, immersive enough. They're just bare bones, and that's actually, like, the one of the things that's very much so important when it comes to playing a game is, like, and they go on to say too that, graphics is kind of like a cherry on top of the cake, but the actual cake is the gameplay, and you want the gameplay to be the best that you can possibly make it. They go on to say that, or they actually read off a quote from one Redditor. But they go on to say that I was showing my friend Diablo 3 because I thought he would be interested in trying it out. He told me that graphically it looks like shit. I mean, yeah, it is a decade old, but the game is still really fun. Don't get me wrong, I love good graphics, but refusing to even try a game out because it's graphically dated just seems silly. I'm pretty sure we've all got that one friend where it's just like, you try to introduce them to some classics, or you try to introduce them to a game that's like, like an OG, like good, like really, really good game, but it's like old. And then they just completely dismiss it because it doesn't look good. And my thing is like, yeah, you're definitely missing out on something. You're definitely missing out on a gem if you just only pay attention to graphics and you don't pay attention to anything else. Because there's a lot of games out here that have really good graphics, but they're missing things that old games did. They're just lacking. And I kind of agree with this too, because my thing is like, you also have these type of situations where it's like development studios and production studios will spend a shit ton of money on graphics and trying to pay big name actors to be in the game, and then the game ends up being shit, i.e. Callisto Protocol. Like, that game's terrible. That game's bad. I bought that game, played that game. It looks great. It looks amazing. Like, the graphics are great, but that game is very much so surface level as fuck. There's nothing. There's like, that game is surface level as fuck. The world design is not good, and the some of the set pieces and scenarios that end up happening in that game are just buggy, broken, and fucked up. So it's just like, I completely get that, you know. Like, let me know in the comments. Let me know in the comments if you guys have a friend or someone that you know where it's like you tried to introduce them to an old game and the game doesn't look that well, but they're like, nope, not playing this game because it looks like shit. You know what I'm saying? I'm just like, what? Wait, what? Like, why, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that shit doesn't make any sense. Why? You know, it's just like, yeah, it doesn't, like, I don't know, man. It could just be generational, you know. It could just be like, you know, people of a different generation, man, they care about different stuff. That is, you know, a thing that plays into it too as well. Like, you know, but let me know in the comments, man, what you guys, you know, what's your opinion on this? You know, I'll be very much so interested to hear what you guys think about this. But that's it for today, man. It's a pretty short one today. Not too much to really talk about, man. The games are dropping, but people are playing games, and you know, nothing is really like, you know, blowing up in the news really like that. I mean, other than, I mean, I guess like, you know, Activision is officially owned by Microsoft, but I spoke about that like months ago. I knew that was going to happen regardless after the first agreement from the FTC. So I mean, like, I think the only other place we were waiting on was Europe to okay it. Now they're good, and they're, you know, officially owned by Microsoft. So I mean, that's another big thing. But that's it for today, guys, man. Like, let me know if you guys enjoy the content. If you did, like the video. If you guys like all of the stuff that I do, make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications so you never miss a video, and I'll talk to you guys next week.